MDC at 17 years guilty verdict. MDC this week marks its 17th anniversary since its formation on the 11th of September 1999. It has been a bumpy journey of political metamorphosis, tribulation, near triumphs and triumphs. Yet with all these trying times, MDC has yielded to no ZANU PF pressure to obliterate it. Instead it has survived the most staring hitmen onslaughts of our time. MDC today can look back the journey travelled not with pride of congest but with an audit of littered bodies bearing the blunt of Mugabe regime and ZANU PF, notwithstanding the unbearable scars of the longest revolution of peacetime in southern Africa. But we remain resolute that Mugabe and ZANU PF are only hangers-on, tipping at the cliff edge of oblivion. That MDC is the biggest opposition party in Zimbabwe is not questionable. What is questionable is how it has survived that long, a generation where other political parties has failed, even a quartet. Those who were born on the day MDC was formed are now 17 years and will be voting come 2018 general election. This generation has known no other mightier opposition party than MDC, neither have they known any other ruler other than Mugabe, and have never enjoyed peacetime gains of independence. They have no chance of getting the even elusive jobs their fathers, brothers and sisters have been denied. This is the generation that still has a life beyond us all who have sacrificed the struggle for a better Zimbabwe 17 years on. I am not going to address to those over 90 years because they don't exist beyond Mugabe. I am going to address those below 18 years who constitute 6,483,200 of the 13,724,300, about 50% of the population. My fellow countrymen and women, the youth of Zimbabwe, I challenge you to embrace change. We must move away from promising hope but instead to deliver hope. We must move away from individualism to collectivism. We must move away from being spectators to be the co-authors of the regime change agenda. We must move away from shying away from political participation to being fully fledged activists. We must move away from political despair into vanguard liberators. We must move away from fear of ZANU PF propaganda into a peaceful confrontation to demand what is rightfully ours. Finally, we must join part with MDC, the party of excellence, in complementing the backbone that has withstood military handling of a generation. MDC might not be perfect, but then who is? In any organization there will exist ideological differences. That's why there are rules and sanctions to deal with deviations and insubordination. Those who say MDC has failed are equally guilty of political ignorance. What they mean is that they and only they have been absent from activism, they have not been part of the change agenda. For you cannot sustain a brutal regime without being an accomplice to it, Gandhi once said. To understand it you need to be in it. During the GNU, MDC in the shortest period showed uncontested capability, stabilized the economy, sustained wage bills, resuscitated crumbling services and brought about social and political sanity. It's not that we have not been tested, the truth is that we remain the hope for a prosperous Zimbabwe. If ever we can be blamed, we accept being guilty of failing to trumpet our own success story. Our policies are favorable for doing business, peace and stability, justice, capital injection, infrastructure rehabilitation and place Zimbabwe as a global player of first choice. For President Morgan Tsvangirai was never the lone voice in the struggle, it was a collective decision, and I might as well add a collective misfortune for all Zimbabweans who voted for change that didn't come. We all know who has been on the controls of stifling people power, and that is Robert Mugabe and ZANU PF. The political landscape in Zimbabwe remain the most uneven under the sun. The entire process is lined up with Mugabites, entrenched and unyielding. MDC should be given credit for even lasting so long, so bullish and so unconquerable. MDC welcomes the voice of citizens and civic groups. Such a voice is not new, it has always been the hymn book of MDC since 1999, and continues to be today. That Mugabe and ZANU PF have failed is not new. That ZANU PF is a corrupt party is not new. That ZANU PF is a party of plunder and looters is not new. That ZANU PF has survived on rigging is not new. That there is no rule of law in Zimbabwe is not new. That ZANU PF has no capacity to run a prosperous Zimbabwe, where employment and wealth creation are priority over personal interests is not new. What is new is that, the MDC is no longer a lone voice it was. These demands have now been amplified by citizens and groups beyond the comfort zone yesterday. As MDC we welcome the amplified voice, but let us now channel it politically to realize the really change for all. For the end game is a political settlement fit for us all. MDC as a party we must remain open for new blood, new ideas, remain focused, embrace new challenges, forge strategic alliances and execute the change whose time has come. Happy birthday Mashinja. Elliot Pfebve is the EU representative for MDC.